Welcome back to the Dynasty Grind. We live stream every Wednesday except for last week, which was a special exception at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to talk about everything Dynasty and fantasy football related. We're happy to chat about any league questions, trade questions, or just questions or comments in general you have about those topics. Drop in whatever chat box in whatever streaming platform you're listening to us on. Anyone who missed us last week, that was my fault. I was sitting here literally just watching the second season of The Tick, and on Amazon Prime, not sponsored. And literally it was 11 o'clock before I read any of my messages saying, hey, don't you usually do something around now? And so that happened, but also so did this. Howdy, chum. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you tonight, Peter?
I'm good. I'm here. I didn't forget. That's I'm doing better than last week. How about yourself?
It's baby steps, Peter. You can only, it's 1 week at a time. It's we're on to whatever week this, I don't know, it's all running together. But here we are.
Exactly. Genji, don't ask me questions like this. This makes me think I should get my week-to-week projections ready, and I'm really not ready for that headache. But he wants to know who he should be starting week one: Dolcic or Dolcic, Laporta, Kincaid. PPR, no premium. Got Kincaid in round 15. Loads of laughs. In a dynasty, that is loads of laughs. Honestly, not great week one starters. I would guess Dolcic is probably your easiest start because the other two are rookies. We really need to see something before we project something. By and large, so the best start week one is probably the Denver guy. The Denver guy we've been talking about all off season, whose name I still struggle with because I am a fool. Yeah.
I concur, Peter, but not with the fool part. Well, maybe with the fool part, but with the Dolcic part.
Appreciate that. A lack of Jonathan Taylor news. Is that what I'm reading on my timeline?
Nothing happened. He didn't get traded. He's still on the pup. He's going to miss the first 4 weeks. Irsay is still Irsay. And I don't know. It's not good. No news is not good for Jonathan Taylor. But
I don't know there's a good way out of this except a new GM, because at this point it's going to be a tenuous relationship no matter what.
It's not even the GM though. Like the GM came out and was like, I want to make up, but it's the owner, which is even worse because you can fire a GM, but you can't fire the guy who owns the team. It doesn't work that way.
We could try. Doesn't he know we have fantasy football lineups to set?
I mean, I have
Robert.
I have like $8 we could pull together and see
buy the team. Well, if we all pay $8, Elon says we can do a lot. Would you trade Chubb for Christian Watson and Dotson in Dynasty? Might start a rebuild. If you're rebuilding, no, those aren't the two I'd go for. But if you're rebuilding, you're prioritizing picks. And at this point in the season, people who want players should be not rebuilding. I think keep Chubb for now. Wait till he starts scoring points, and you might find a better trade if this is the best you can do. Am I too far off there? I think two young wide receivers is good. I just don't think they are
so
high in my ranks to say I'd do it.
What I try to do with a player like Chubb is to trade him for one of those wide receivers and a first, although not necessarily those wide receivers. But if I was going to make a pick between these two, Robert, I would try to get a first-round pick in Dotson. I prefer Dotson's potential upside to what I think Christian Watson is, even though I think Christian Watson is like very good at what he does. I think it's going to be very hard for him to be fantasy football successful at what he does in the situation that he is in.
That's a polite way of saying he sucks. I like that. I like polite sucks. Nice. Diego Ortiz, Derek Carr, Russell Wilson. This season, I'm kind of in a little bit, just a little bit on the Russell Wilson resurgence, and I think Derek Carr's a very fine price to pay. I think Russell Wilson has the ceiling, Derek Carr has a floor, and I think by and large we should lean on ceiling whenever we can. So I'd rather have Russell Wilson, especially for just this season. But even in a dynasty, I would lean towards Russell Wilson there.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Derek Carr is like the epitome of mediocrity in fantasy.
He's fine. He's fine.
Probably
he's
reality.
Fine.
Yeah.
He's Jared Goff. You got 10 years of this. Just settle in. It's fine. It's fine. Speaking of which, Jonathan Taylor's got a micro market around him, wouldn't you say? Especially right here at the start of the season. That's a really interesting place to have a running back micro market. You interested in it?
So, yes, there is a micro market, but I don't think you're going to get back to the full heights of Jonathan Taylor ever. This was John Bosch in a large group DM full of people who are really plugged in, posed the question, do you think that Jonathan Taylor has 80 productive games left in his career? And the answer resoundingly was no. And which, I mean, that's like 4.5 seasons.
That's a lot of seasons so far. Running back. I think I think there's all, but we also know the reverse is true. Whenever whatever it is right now gets sorted out, he's on a new team, there's a new owner, there'll be another month.
Like he'll come back, and that I am willing to go in and buy into him now for the right price. But I think so this is one of the really, so we usually look to redraft markets to be able to kind of figure out where the value is, where dynasty is lower than redraft on players. I think right now you've seen I read Cooter Doodle's article where they ranked Jonathan Taylor at Fantasy Life outside of the top 50 players overall, outside of the top 20 running backs in redraft. We talked to Andy, who runs Rate My League, and he said a very similar thing where his algorithm dropped Jonathan Taylor to, and if I click a couple of buttons, I can tell you exactly where he dropped to, but he dropped outside of the top 20, down to from RB9 to RB25 in redraft in season long. And so if the temperature of the dynasty community follows suit, then yes, you absolutely buy into Jonathan Taylor, because he's going to end up somewhere at some point, and he's either going to be productive and score you points, or he's going to be worth more than what you paid for him. But I'm not trying to go out and like pay up to get Jonathan Taylor. Like last week's Jonathan Taylor price is not this week's Jonathan Taylor price.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Though I think it's interesting. I sent out a few offers because you got to find out where your league owner is, and my rough estimation was like a 25 first, and then give them something that helps their team or something that excites them. So if they're weak at quarterback, offer them some sort of starting quarterback in a super flex. Like a Baker Mayfield was one example. It's not great. And a 25 first, and maybe they want some deep roster on your list. Like who went off this week? I ended up trading the Patriots running back that we've been hanging on to for a couple years. What's his name?
Who, Ramondre?
No, he just there was just news.
Yep. Pierce.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Pierre Strong, right?
Pierre Strong.
So you're giving them something interesting that might have upside this season, something that helps their roster in points per game this season, and a future value just to get them out of that risk. And that's kind of roughly where I was trying to build trades. And if I'm in that 70% of teams, I think there's more than enough upside in the future for when he comes back, or when he's playing, or when the situation resolves. That made it interesting. If I'm a rebuilding team, nah. If a competitive team, there's probably better running backs to target. But in that 70%, I think there's a weird kind of little market there. But so far, no dice. But I thought it was interesting to send some offers out.
Well, and I think you'll probably have you'll have more luck in like another week while the negativity
Yeah,
builds.
that's true. Yeah, that's not a bad point. I might come back. Spock 498, and one of two. How would you roster construct it? How would you roster construct in this weird setting? No PPR, 12 team super flex, no tight end premium. Oh, sorry, it's just regular tight ends. And start 9, 4 QB, 4 points per touchdown for passing for QBs. League economy. Running back QB values extremely high. Non PPR again. And QB scarcity. Okay. Well, it's first off, one of the most interesting things to me right here is PPR, which essentially means everything is a gamble. The certainty of the league is touchdowns, and that's not great. So running back and QB should really be where your values are. But tight end might be undervalued in this setting as well, because touchdowns and tight ends kind of go together as well. So I'm kind of interested in rostering a little more tight ends, and I ordinarily, even if I'm not playing scattershot tight end, I think I might be slightly more flexible than some people would realize, even a Hooper, an Ertz, whoever. Outside of that, Superflex is the other main feature here. And especially with no PPR, that decreases wide receiver a little bit, which emphasizes the value of quarterback. So I'm pummeling quarterback pretty heavy.
It makes Travis Kelce incredibly valuable. Like Travis Kelce is scoring like a top 2 wide receiver and a top 6 running back in this format.
Yeah.
Good point. So it makes Kelce very valuable, and then otherwise, you build to what you got to go get quarterbacks and running backs. Like those are the positions that are going to score points, and if you can get in on one of the top tier receivers like Justin Jefferson or Adams or Tyreek Hill, then fine, but it gets really thin really fast in standard, especially.
Yeah, I was going to say the standard scoring's doing a lot there, because even in regular standard scoring, the value of wide receivers is much more suspect. And then you throw in the perceived lack of depth that doesn't exist. So I want to hyper elite my wide receivers if I can. Almost no depth, except a few shots that I really think can have big swing upsides. I'm not even interested in a Brandon Cooks, who might score you points this year, but I'm not sure he's starting as often, even in a flex spot, in this type of format. So the depth of the wide receiver really starts to lose its appeal.
And the other thing that
on a roster construction basis,
the other thing that I would do, Spock, is really look to add picks if I can. Where, like you say that the running back and quarterback values are high, so if I can trade running backs and quarterbacks for multiple picks, looking to the future, you can add more running backs and quarterbacks that then increase in value. And so this is a league where if those players are valued highly as players and maybe the picks get overlooked, the picks become players eventually. And so it's a chance to really attack a rebuild. If you have a league that really values a position and you can get multiple picks for that position in trade, then all of a sudden you can add multiple pieces at that position with those picks. So like you can kind of build a team that way. So it's not necessarily roster construction for now, but also something to keep in mind for the future. So
yeah. Sorry, here's 2 of 2. Toilet bowl vets / production harder to acquire in season and prevents tanking. Yuck, I know. Worst 2 teams get the 101 and 102 in the toilet bowl. The 103 and the 106. Playoff teams get the. Yeah, I've been in a similar format. Appreciate DLF. Thank you. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. I think people emphasize tanking to get a better pick. I mean, it's just a thing that happens naturally, and you can lean into it a little bit, but it doesn't adjust my strat. I'm no longer building because there isn't a good pick. Pick isn't the only reason that you go in the direction of a rebuild. It's because you can't score points in general. And you can still, it might put a little more emphasis on valuing youth or trading for picks instead of your individual pick, but it doesn't affect how I play in general in that kind of format. And I've been in one of those before. Just emphasizes trading around the draft a little bit more for me. Also, I think I have an interesting idea for trades I want to send, and I think they're better in-season offers, although I've been rolling them out right now, just trying to see how they work out. And to your point that vets and producers are harder to acquire in season, in general, you have to know your league, you have to test the market, send out some trades, see what happens over time, make the notes in the Leo Pasiga notebook so you know for the future, and then you know for your league. But in general, yes. But it's also when those first seconds start to get cheaper, like picks start to flow a little bit more easily in season as people want rosters and as rookies prove or don't prove themselves and move around a little bit more. So don't take your eye off the fact that just because something becomes less attainable, something else becomes more attainable, because the value has to balance somewhere. Actually, it doesn't, but it normally does. Joshua, 16-team, 1 QB PPR. I gave Lamar, Waller, Breece Hall, and a 24-second and 25-second for Josh Allen. ETN, Ingram, and a 25 first. Which side? Well, you got the higher pick and the better quarterback, like value-wise and also points-wise. NFL-wise, don't ask me. So, yeah, I think the Breece Hall to ETN is a big difference, but I think getting more draft capital and a better quarterback in a 1 QB. Oh, wait, I misspoke. Does that matter? You seem to be agreeing with me there, but 1
16
QB?
team. I want the Allen side. It's
a
16 team.
Good point. Yeah. 16 team adjusts that back. Yeah. So yeah.
So that's a pretty sizable advantage on most of your league having a top 2 quarterback. And then yes, the drop to ETN from Breece Hall is sizable.
It sucks.
But you still have a running back, and you still have a running back who is potentially valuable in trade market also. So it's not that ETN is the end of the line for you, but
and that's the thing. Running backs cycle more often, and that's why I like the quarterback and the draft pick are the two higher tier. If we're going to do the S tier to the F tier stuff, of stuff you want to improve in general in Dynasty, and you got the best improvements at the higher tier things. So Breece Hall's a big price to pay, but especially with 16 team, you're right there, Zach. That adjusts it back to almost as if it's a super flex, and it puts the advantage in your court. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Zach. Sorry.
No, but I'm like, you and I are on the same page, Peter and Josh. I think that was that is a nice trade for you. Getting Allen, ETN's fine. Ingram and Waller, I prefer Waller, but it's not by a ton. Like I'm not gonna beat you up over that. And the 25 first over the second, the 2 seconds. So yeah.
Robert, again, what should I try to get for Aaron? You should try and keep Aaron Jones. I know you're rebuilding, retooling, but like we were just saying, like those players are going to be easy to sell when the scoring points. It's getting easier. People like me have been sending offers on Aaron Jones all last season. Now we're going to get a few more people interested, and the minute the points start to flow, we'll get the max number in your league that are going to be interested. So I think that's going to be a better window. Zach?
But if you get a first, are you not selling Aaron Jones for a first if you're rebuilding?
No, that's a good point. If you've got that on the table, you just take the first. Yeah. And that's your over and underline for you. That's what you're looking for later as well. Trent, 12-team Superflex start 10, PPR Dynasty. The team is this: Hurts, Lamar, DTR. I've seen him Dorian Thompson Robinson or something like that. I've seen him rostered a few places. Stidham. Running backs are Ramondre Akers, Brian Robinson, I'm assuming, Tajay Spears, CEH, Zonovan White, right? Jerome Ford, Zamir White, Isaiah Spiller, wide receivers, DK Pickens, Addison, Gabe Davis, Bucks, Jameson Williams, Van Jefferson. This is a 1 of 2 as well, so I got to skip down here.
You're going to be really excited about this.
Yeah. Tutu, Marvin Mims, Josh Palmer, Hutchinson, and Muth. There you go. And McBride. Look at you go. Strange. Oh, you've even got Strange. Picks are this. Any moves to make? Okay, so look at the roster. Notice some moves. I think now's a really interesting time to try sending off Jameson Williams away, because this is a window and people who want to get in might be willing to take the risk for his value. And I'd be interested in doing that in general. Also, your running backs, well, good, really good based on our off-season projections. Projections are always shaky. And your top 2 starting running backs are what we think is going to be good, but haven't done it yet. So I'm interested in tearing them up a little bit, especially since your team overall looks relatively competitive. You're still in the 70%. So my mind's on the season's coming. I want to tear up my running backs. I want to sell some of the hopes and dreams to do it and continue to advance forward with value. Zach, is there anyone else on the list? Because you got Hurts, Lamar, and a super flex. Like, you are built to go. So
yeah. So I'm waiting a little bit on Jameson Williams, and I heard you and Ryan McDowell talk on your podcast this week, and he's out on Jameson Williams and wants to sell, and he's got 2 shares left, and he wants to get rid of them. And I agree that is the move, but it's you know he's going to be out for 6 weeks. You know this. He's got a 6-week suspension. After 5 weeks, what is going on? Everyone is going to be talking about how Jameson Williams is coming back. There are going to be highlight clips of his 40 to 50-yard touchdown that he had last year. And all of a sudden, that market is going to be a lot hotter than. And this is where I kind of walk that tightrope between, the stock market approach that John Bosch and Russ Fisher and Kevin Cotillo play, and the what Ryan McDowell is talking about, where he kind of goes based on like feel and how he likes to build his roster and productive struggle and all that. Like I walk that tightrope with micro markets where like I'm not strictly a value guy, but I also identify where I think it's pretty obvious that value is going to happen. And try to get in ahead of it and then use that value that's coming to my advantage.
I'm neither in nor out on Jameson Williams, to be clear. Like, he is unique. I think he was a strong prospect. That second year hiatus because of a missed year 1 is just relatively rare. So what my process does is put that into if forced, I will roll the dice and see what happens. But if I can get the value I think I should, now I will. So I would send out trade offers to see if I can get that first plus. And if not, I think you're right. The better window is coming in the future. And I try and stick to that with unique players. Burt's, I hate saying this, Zach, he's kind of in that weird camp for me where I think he's good, but it's a disappointing year. So again, if I get the value I want, I think he will be worth when he is good. I would do it now if someone else is more immune to the risk. But most of the time, you're not going to get the offers you want right now, so you just wait. But I'm at least open to the idea of it. Again, that weird little, I don't know what talent looks like, so I can't make the strong decision. So I'll just send the offers, and if I can't get it, I'll roll the dice. But yeah, I think you're right. Better windows are probably in the future. But I don't mind testing the market right now because you never know. You never know. Yeah. You never know. You probably know. Almost all trades get rejected, but there you go. Gavin Ferguson still thinks Zeke doesn't affect Ramondre's pass catching volume. Did we say that? Probably. I don't think it affects Ramondre's overall volume generally. I think they were going to bring in at least some. If I can remember to what my takes would or should have been, there's going to be someone else to take some volume. Zeke is more than capable of that, even at this point in his career. I don't think he was going to be alone in the backfield no matter what. So no, I don't think it affects it any more than if they'd signed 3 waiver wire ads or whatever. I still think the team has not indicated they want a different running back 1, and so whatever the running back 1 workload is there, that's going to be Ramondre.
But I think last year was not the normal running back 1 workload for the Patriots. Like I think
that's true.
With injury and the way things shook out, he got a lot more work overall, not just in the passing game, but overall than I expect him to get this year. Because the Patriots have, in as long as I have been watching them, have not wanted since Corey Dillon to have a single back be the back.
Right.
So,
yeah, he's going to be the one. He's got a damn good shot of being a top 12. And I don't think Zeke changes that range of outcomes. Again, I don't think he's got top 8, top 5 in his range of outcomes. And because, as Zach's saying, like that really doesn't happen in this situation without like who was the 11 touchdowns in one game guy? He had like 3 touchdowns a game. Oh God, I forgot his name on the Patriots. Blount, right?
oh well, yeah,
And
well,
that's
Blount.
kind of what you need to do on the Patriots to get that top upside. I don't think that's in the reasonable range of outcomes. But yes, he didn't move the needle for me one way or the other. It's mid, except your QBs. Hey,
Yeah, that's fair.
Most
Well,
things
I like
are.
Addison. I like Addison.
Yeah, you got some shiny things on there, man.
Yeah.
Some shiny things. Boats could be shiny. Pickens is kind of shiny right now for value. So's DK for value. Burks has got potential. Yeah. It's potential. Those QBs are a bit better than mid. I'm just saying, if I've got those 2 QBs in a Superflex, I'm interested in trying to tear them up and being competitive because that's a really cool window. Robert, also, would you recommend rebuilding now or during the season? I'm worried Dotson breaks out, for example. It's all about the value, man. Especially when you're rebuilding, you get to kind of put some of this aside. If you get above average value, you just say yes. All you care about is moving the needle further and further. And I do that too. Like, well, I really believe in Rondale Moore. But if I'm on this terrible team, I'm getting good to above average value for Rondale Moore. I'm rebuilding. I get to not worry about the risk of that. I have to be disciplined about it. I've moved my value up. I'm moving forward. I'm moving along. This draft capital they got is going to be more interesting to more teams guaranteed than Rondale Moore. And you just have to kind of have that mentality about it. That's why we always kind of, I think I do. I don't know if you feel the same way. I try to stay hesitant on who is rebuilding because I think rebuilding is kind of throwing out the guessing game a little bit and just going for more solid certainty. The second is better than a player who could break out. Would you feel you're also more timid on what is and isn't a rebuild for that reason? Because I want to be really, if it's rebuilding, I'm not guessing if Jameson Williams is going to do good or bad this year or playing micro markets. I'm getting more value. I'm doing it.
Well, I mean, to me, it's kind of it depends on how much I'm rebuilding and what my team looks like. When
that's what I mean, though. There's a scale. Yeah. Like that's why I try and make rebuilding as a term itself like the extreme of the scale.
Yeah,
because otherwise everyone could be saying it's all about what's the trade, you know. But sorry, carry on. That's shut up. Too much coffee.
I agree that there is a point where you're getting what you can get, but Robert, to your initial question, and we kind of already answered this, like I would be going after Dotson in a first if I could get that for Chubb if I am rebuilding, because that's how I play. In fact, you're almost a year or two too late on that, but that's how I play running backs. I will draft Nick Chubb. I will reap the benefits of Nick Chubb for 2 years, maybe 3 on the very outside. And then I will trade Nick Chubb for a first and a proven young wide receiver. While I don't think Dotson is quite a proven young wide receiver,
there is that upside in season. He might show something. Yeah.
He's in the parking lot of the ballpark.
And to the point, you like Dotson, so and Zach's trade works perfectly for that because you're moving forward in value by getting the first, and then you've got this potential. This could be more tradable in this season. But there are other options. For example, going into the season, you can go look at those running backs and see a first for one of those backup running backs you think could enter one of those windows, or maybe there's another wide receiver you like, or a tight end that you think is being undervalued. But that's roughly the trade you're looking for, something that that rakes you in some value. This is more tradable to more teams more often, i.e. picks in general is where we think. And then more upside shots. So Dotson and a first would be phenomenal for your situation for Chubb. On a more competitive team that sucks because Nick Chubb's definitely going to outscore that for the next 2 years.
And I would prefer getting the pick to Christian Watson because all of a sudden now you've got two of those. It's either down in value or up in value as opposed to a pick, which is just going to increase.
Well, that's the thing. It might be there's more upside, but because you're rebuilding, you're willing to take some risk, but you also want to rake in some more certainty. And so you get the best of both. Like Christian Watson is probably worth a first plus, and you're giving that extra to them. You're like, we're not even going to balance it. I'm going to give away whatever extra there should be on a Watson for a simple first. So you get that upside, and I get the certainty of the first. And because I'm rebuilding, that makes sense for my team. That's the way it works in my head. The person you're trying to trade with might be like, what? I don't know. But that's the way I try and think through trades anyway, or an example of it.
Yeah.
I got to be, I have to justify it in my head. I have to know I'm giving them something that's worthwhile. And anyway. Genji, Dotson, Arizona, week 1.
Oh, I can't wait for the Sam Howell hype. Woo!
It's crazy. Spot 498. Next move. Here's another team. Where's the next one? He traded Deontay plus 24 second and 24 first, presumably late, but let's say mid. Thoughts? So Deontay in a second for a first and 24. I think Deontay is worth that by himself, but sometimes in your league, that's not going to get it done. So adding a second if this is a purely rebuilding team, it's fine. More tradable to more teams.
But the caveat is no PPR. And I don't think Deontay Johnson is nearly as valuable in a standard league because his entire
that is his point.
Yeah, he catches 7-yard passes. Bang, 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 bang. Like that's what he does. And so it's probably a little light, but it's not that light. And
I don't think it's that.
Yeah, and you've got the fungibility of a pick, and you've got potential to, in a standard league, make that be a running back at some point. And so that's, I don't.
And you've also traded from your strength. Looking at the wide receivers you have left, you're not going to miss Deontay even. So, that's full on solid.
Next, but his question was next move: Fields, Bryce Young, Murray's obviously out. CMC, JT doesn't help you right now. Chase, Waddle, Olave, Cooper. You're on the cusp of competing. This is like this is a team that I might be trying to add some of those back end running backs, like like the second tier running backs and that sort of thing to hit. But this is also hey, let's see where we are after 4 weeks, because not only are you still ahead of the game after 4 weeks in terms of evaluating your team, because most teams in your leagues aren't making moves yet, but you also know a lot more about the lay of the land in terms of fantasy for producers for this season, because once you hit week 4, you're up over 50% of the top 12 players are already in the top 12. So you can kind of be a little more tactical about the trades you make at that point. So Zach's exactly right. Just some other notes. Your tight end's your biggest weakness, but I think quarterback might be an underrated weakness here for you. It sounds great. Fields, Murray, awesome. Bryce Young, awesome. But that's not a competitive roster, whereas your running backs are purely set up to compete right now. So you've got a little bit of an imbalance there. I can't think of something off the top of my head, but I either want to upgrade Fields to that very tippy top tier, or move some of my running backs for value as the season rolls out. Both of those are moves I have in my head, but it depends where your league mates are, what's available. As it is, I think Zach's got the right play. You're poking and prodding for things like that,
But mostly, let's see what week 4 brings. Chase moves to Hawaii, CMC reinvents the running back position and is worth 2 by himself. We really don't know. So you're in strong wait and see mode, but you're somewhat competitive. Yeah. Towards the top of that 70%, but not a let's go all in type of situation. But close. Samson Simpson. Good evening, guys. Good evening, Samson. Thank you very much. So few people say hello before they start asking questions. Again, I'd rather have Deontay. I think Zach's right. In a non-PPR, I almost don't. I think the first is much better there. Especially competing. Again, I think you may have missed the PPR thing like I did. Sup, Samson? Brian, Zach alerted me via GIF on Twitter last week that my tuning in to the Dynasty Grind, we would see Peter twerking. I'm here for it. Let's go. Sure. It happens right after we end the stream. Samson, Genji yes, sir. How has Jonathan Taylor's new news personally affected teams you have already drafted? I had 0 Jonathan Taylor, and that's not like a flex, like, oh, I knew it was coming. I'm typically a low T builder. I don't have a lot of running back strength. I look to build in micro markets. I look to gain off the waiver wire and deeper down the rookie charts, looking for those value rises. And so I don't have a lot of Jonathan Taylor. The running backs I did have, I sold pretty early on, as we talked about at the start of this offseason. I'm often trading them before the end of the season if I don't think I'm the final team. And so, yeah, I've been in the exact opposite directions. I have, like we talked about at the start of the stream, just in case you missed it, we talked a little bit about what type of micro market he's in, some moves we're trying or we might suspect we'll try later. Zach pointed out, again, it's annoying because I want to say do this now because that's fun and exciting and it gives us something to do, where Zach's always like, hey, by the way, it's probably better to do that in 4 weeks. And so he said that and he's right again. But still, we talked about that a bit at the start. I think it's always worth sending offers, but there is always a risk. Despite the fact I always say that, there is a risk. If you send offers now and then wait for that better window and then send them again, they've seen it before. They're going to be like, no, I said this to no to this 4 weeks ago, and it might re-up their ability to say no to you. So sometimes it is just worth waiting and only send the one offer in 4 weeks and play that gamble. You got to, again, this comes down to what Ryan and everyone talks about. You got to know your league mates a little bit, or at least a sense of how the trade market moves in your league. If it's very stagnant, I'll tell you what, Zach, if you don't know your league mates very well, I'm in a lot of my leagues. I know some of my league mates, but not a lot. But I'm in some leagues where there's not a lot of conversation. I don't know them. Don't know them at all. If it's more stagnant in a league where you don't know people, are you more likely to send offers out more regularly or less regularly? And I know you're not a big trader anyway, but say you wanted to make a trade, would you be less likely to wait if the market is typically stagnant, or are you trying to get the ball rolling earlier?
Well, I think that if it's a stagnant league, then you have to be making offers in order to get anything through.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
An active league, I can kind of be the trapdoor spider, where I can sit back and I can sit back and have that door open and trades come in, and then when I find one that I got it, and but in a league,
sorry, that's a visual that I won't ever forget.
Yeah. Should I put the other 6 of my legs up on the table?
You should.
But in a league that's not as active, I think it kind of becomes incumbent on you to be active.
You have to be the change.
Drive that. Yeah, you can get it. And honestly, sometimes you can start if it only takes a little bit of a catalyst, and you can start.
Oh, that's a good point. Is that when we should send more of the smaller trades? Like, hey, give me a third. I'll give you Zeke for this third because whatever.
People start. Just the skids get greased, and people start to realize, oh, well, we can do this, and it wasn't that painful, and we can keep making trades, and so yeah, I do think
it's that. I would have done that for more, and then they're like, well, I should better start sending out offers. Yeah, I always think of it as I've got to do my best Dynasty Outhouse in person. In the leagues where I don't have Dynasty Outhouse, I'm like, I have to be the Dynasty Outhouse and try to get the wheels moving a little bit.
Why would you ever want to be in a league without Russ, without
Well, he
Dynasty
doesn't like
Outhouse?
playing with me, Zach. I'm only in one league with him. I have to make up for his absence in a lot of leagues. But no, I do think that's an interesting point because, again, if you don't know your league market, you at least know how often trades get done, or that's fairly easy to figure out. And if it's more seldom that it happens, you probably need to start pushing offers out a little bit earlier. Whereas if moves are a little bit more common, you might be more prone to wait for what you expect to be the better window. I think that's a better guide than just sometimes yes, sometimes no. And that I said earlier, which wasn't as good. Gavin Ferguson, what would you draft Taylor at in Dynasty? 12-team, Superflex, 1.75 tight end premium. Got him at the 306 this weekend. Luckily, got CMC the round before. Honestly, second round CMC is pretty good. Dynasty, it's fair, but it's still pretty good according to ADP. Wide receivers couldn't have flew off the board faster.
Yeah. Well, and we're in zero RB drafting now, like full on, and it's both Dynasty and redraft. For whatever reason, people have got it in their head that wide receiver is really deep, and you need to go get them because this is the position of power, and it's pretty top heavy. Like there are a few really good ones that I want. Like if I'm drafting Dynasty, like I want to go get Justin Jefferson, I want to get Chase, I want to get Waddle, I want to get Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, but like after that, I don't mind having the Bull of the Woods running back. I like it. But this is early still
to a point. I've been mentioning little things all off season, the markets and the changing, the likelihood of talent coming in, the breakout windows and wide receivers stagnating. There's some common mistakes I think will happen from now on. And I think it's time we start peaking, start really looking to go in on this. Wide receiver isn't due more breakouts. And like you just said, the perception that it's deep means people are going to make some mistakes, like give a little bit too much for Marvin Mims, give a little bit too much for Bateman, for idiots like me, or their favorites, right? Christian Watson, Jerry Jeudy. Where at the same time, running backs have continued to fall because it's been so terrible. I don't think we're due a 2017. Don't get me wrong. I don't think we're going to see the rebirth anytime soon. But I do think we have to start acting. I want to start acting strongly at running back. And I've been tinkering with it all off season. And increasingly, the further this goes, the more it's not a zig when they zag, because honestly, running back can continue to plummet. But we know who the good ones are. We know who the good young ones are, I think. And the breakouts are going to be slightly less than predictable because we don't have a 2017 class. We have Robinson and Gibbs and some really good tier twos that we should try and pummel in our rookie drafts. Maybe look for value in trades, but mostly, like, I really think we should be going for those ugly running backs. We should really be making stronger and stronger moves at running back. And as this continues to play out, because I think, in a year or two, it can reverse very quickly, if you know what I mean. So I've really been looking for moves. And that's why I sent out some Jonathan Taylor offers. I really want to start making moves. As people get more and more certain that running back is dead, I want to be the guy going the other way because I don't think it's going to stay dead.
But to Gavin's question,
that's the end of my rant.
Right. Well, but to Gavin's question with the Jonathan Taylor, that 306 is where he was. Like that's pretty indicative of where Jonathan Taylor had been going before you got the news that you were going to miss out on 4 games this season to start, before you got the news that Irsay is still crazy and didn't trade Jonathan Taylor and asked for Jalen Waddle in return for Jonathan Taylor from the Dolphins. The situation by not changing has gotten worse. And so the value of Taylor, even if it's just perception, has gone down. And so that is early for Taylor.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But what I'm ranting about, and I was spiraling towards an answer, is I think CMC and JT in the second and third by the end of the season might start to look a little bit better than it does right now. And where you're in a startup draft, you might have been able to get him around later, to be fair, but you took him where you took him. And I don't think I don't mind going in on the running backs right now. The running backs that we know are good. I think it's interesting. And so Gavin, to be fair, Zach's right. If we're doing this strictly, especially generally in Dynasty, that was a reach right now. But I think there's potential for this to look better. And remember, though, he comes back after 4 games, and he's a professional, and he's very good, and the team's got talent. So through your playoffs, he might be helping you lead you to finishing very highly and escalate his value and leave you in a very pretty situation. But that it is a strong risk you've taken with your second and third round pick in a dynasty. So don't be afraid to capitalize on it if it happens by then. But yeah, it's probably too high, but I think there's potential in it. I think my internet's really struggling tonight. It's not used to it. I didn't do it last week. There seems to be a stronger delay than usual, but I'm trying to leave pauses. Genji, redraft, single QB, start 9, PPR, no premium. Chase, Waddle, JT, Hall, Hopkins, Burrow, Deontay, Dotson, Bateman, Bigsby. I really like Tank Bigsby's name, and as I said in my video, it's not just a tank part. Bigsby's a really cool name. It makes me think of something that's present in D&D all the time, which is Bigsby's hand. And sorry, I had to say it. A-Chain, Dolchich, Kendre Miller, Sam Laporta, Dalton Kincaid, Deon Jackson. Sorry. What do you guys think? That's the question for everyone so far. Strong team. Yeah. Let's see. Single quarterback. Chase Waddle. Where are your quarterbacks? Am I missing the quarterbacks? No, there is Burrow. Okay. JT.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
You're going to get clapped by JT to start the season and Hall. Yeah. So you're looking to come back from a 0-4 start. But you kind of got the horses to do it if your wide receiver bets pay off enough. They're solid. Stay cautious. That's what I'd say. You've got a lot of good things on this roster, especially Chase and Waddle. I mean, you're set, even if it goes completely wrong. But your first 4 weeks are going to be rough. Your depth is Deontay and Hopkins, who's done this season for value. Stay cautious. Stay increasing.
Maybe though. Bit, you know? Maybe like Kendre Miller should be decent to start the season with Kamara out. Deon Jackson could be the replacement. I mean, he may not be, but he could be the replacement for Jonathan Taylor. He was a decent pass catcher in stretches last year and had a couple of games where he popped off. So like it may not be like you may be bailing enough water with Kendre Miller and Deon Jackson to be okay. It's not my favorite.
No,
but you got enough horses with Chase and Waddle and Burrow and the potential of Hopkins and Deontay Johnson and Dotson that you should be able to tread water long enough to get Hall back and potentially get Jonathan Taylor back. And then, you know, anything kind of can happen if you get them back and head down the stretch.
I think, yeah, I'm trying to say the same thing Zach is. I think you've got a lot of potential here. I don't see enough to push all in, but your wide receivers mean being in the middle is fine because you've actually got this elite level of wide receiver value under the age of 24. So you're fine. And just let the season play out a bit. Dawson, maybe I'm just getting back-to-back references through the questions here and also talking to Ryan, who mentioned him as well for the podcast that released today. I feel like he's in a window, and I like Dotson to end the season. I thought the number of routes he ran had been underrated. But like you were saying, he's just in the car park. He's not on the ballpark yet. And like you've got a starting tight end problem. Not a problem. You know, your depth at young tight end here is good. But like I'd be really interested.
But you don't want that in a redraft. You
Dotson. Is he in a window right now? There's a lot of yeah.
But this is redraft though, Peter. So like
there's a lot of sleeperishness to Dotson. No, I was just thinking more in general. Sorry, not to not talk about your league here, Genji, but I just keep hearing Dotson's name. I'm like, is he sleeperish? Is there a hype market? Is there someone in your league that would be excited to have the guy Matthew Berry and Ryan McDowell both mentioned? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and especially if he pops off week one, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. Something to think about. A-Chain as well, and Condre Miller. Yeah, you've got a lot. Bigsby. You got a lot of chances here. Anyway, sorry. I think it's really solid redraft squad, Benji. Samson Simpson traded with Russ again in tight end in Trade Addicts 4. Gave up A-Chain and Tank Dell for a 24 first and third. Solid. House does good trades, man. This seems fair and balanced for two different teams. Yeah.
I'd rather have the first. But I think you did well, Samson.
I'm assuming
Don't tell Russ.
That's aside.
He's on.
Yeah, I think you did pretty well. If what I mean is a team that's more competitive, A-Chain could increase his day this season just with a good game here and there, especially in Trade Addicts 4, which I know is PPR scoring. And Tank Dell, I've got Tank Dell on rosters, guys. Like I didn't hype him up in my secondary wide receivers for nothing. But I keep looking at him as an add to other trades I want to get done. And whether I'm building or whether I'm competing, whichever side of the scale I'm on. And that's what you've done here. You've added Tank Dell, the hype machine that is Tiny Tank, to A-Chain to get a first. And I think that's a really solid move. Yeah. I'm scared. I don't want to trade my Tank Dells, but it's an interesting move right now. Scotchy, is Demario Douglas a roster clogger? Yes.
The definition of yes. But it's a cool sounding name.
Yeah, there's always what league it is, who's available on the waiver wire, but mostly I would say 9 times out of 10, maybe 9 out of 100. He's a
and Scotchy, like I am rostering Demario Douglas in maybe 3 out of my 5 leagues, but he will also be one of the first players I cut to add somebody that I actually think has a chance. Like it's worth if you have the roster space and the waiver wire is ugly, it's worth having him on your team. But with the idea that 99.9% of the time he does not happen, the other 1% of the time or 0.1% of the time is like Edelman. Like it, but that doesn't ever happen. Like that never pans out except for the one time it does. And that keeps you going back. So, like, if you've got a deeper league, that's fine. But also understand that when there is a second or third string running back on the waiver wire, you're dropping Demario Douglas to go get that player who can score you points.
Yeah. Brian, lifelong Patriots fan. I'm sorry. Do you think we are close to reaching the retirement of Belichick? And do you have any coaches in mind you'd like to see inherit the coaching position? That's got you written all over it, Zach. You're a Patriots fan. You're a fan. And
I am surprised that Belichick is continuing to coach at this point just because it would have been so easy to just ride off into the sunset. And I think he missed a couple of steps where the reason they are not, where they have been is they missed out on N'Keal Harry. They missed on Sony Michel. They passed up on Lamar Jackson, which still haunts me to this day. I remember, Peter, you were involved in that live stream, and I was so frustrated when they took Sony Michel, and then so frustrated when they didn't trade back in, even though they had Brady under contract for another year. Lamar Jackson would have been the perfect transition from the offense that Tom Brady had been running and had his stamp on to you couldn't do that with Lamar Jackson, or if you did, it would be a disservice. But in terms of like who is the succession plan to Belichick, I have no idea. I really don't. I would like to see one of these young analytic minds, because I think that's fun. I think the guys who do things a little bit differently make me happier, and so I'd like to see something like that. But I don't have necessarily a name in mind. But
Yeah, I'm on the outside looking in. I don't know how coaches are made. I don't know if a daddy coach and a mommy coach get together. I really have no idea. I would say, just as an outsider, I want to see
plant a
some new damn
coaching tree.
names. I'm a little
Yeah.
tired of the same noise. I think we should look for a little bit more innovation, which is just someone else who hasn't been doing the same 4 or 5 jobs from assistant to actual coach to assistant coach for the last 50 years. And there's got to be some talent out there. There are so many good college teams. There are so many good assistant coaches. The guy who just got the job in Washington, right, was in Kansas, right? And I'm really interested to see what he can do. Is that right, Zach? Yeah, because he's a new guy, and let's get some new people in there. Not because there aren't solid coaches throughout the league. It's just so many seem to have had a similar job so many different times. I'm like, look, can we try something new? Maybe good and steady isn't good enough in a league that's incredibly top heavy in terms of who is competitive from a league. Like there are some divisions you can just call who are the 1 and 2 without having to play the season. It's just risking the player's health at this point. But anyway, yeah, outsider's point of view, I just grind fantasy, but like I think some new people will be fun.
But Bieniemy is the offensive coordinator. They didn't hire him on as a head coach, even though he probably has potential to be the head coach.
It's still not good enough. Yeah. I remember now because they didn't give him the head coach; they just gave him the offensive coordinator. But
yeah, which
let's move him up a little faster than that. Let's get a little more adventurous.
No, I agree.
It's like quarterback. I don't know how the game's played, but I hear a lot of people. Cooper Adams is one who always said it's worth just starting a Clayton Tune to see what he can do than starting. Who's the guy? Who's Colt McCoy? Because we know what Colt McCoy is, and it might get you a little further, might get you a little bit more wins, but risk having a worse season just to see what an unknown. And I think that mentality should be applied to coaches a little bit more, and not even an unknown. Like that guy did a phenomenal job in Kansas. Let's see what he can do. Let's see what he can do. Set him in a kitchen, see if he can cook. Not like Russell Wilson, but Fantasy Football Garage. What's up? What's up to you too, buddy? Thank you. Zach Harris, 12-team Dynasty Superflex, start 11, 1 point PPR, start 2, tight end premium. Rebuild, what's the premium? But anyway, rebuilding and made some trades. Pitts and Jaden Reed for Quentin Johnson, Dotson, and Rashad White, and K. Dotton. K. Dotton doesn't matter a lot.
I like that.
I want the Quentin Johnson side.
Yeah. I like that, Zach. I think that's
a side. Did I just disagree?
Nope. No. The Quentin Dotson side. Okay. I really enjoyed that. I think that's the side I want to be on, even though Pitts is the dynasty darling. I think that's.
Sorry, I'm tweeting. That's what I do. Zach also asks if I can bring it up. I seem to be a little incompetent right now. Also traded Allen, Marvin Mims, Jerry Jeudy, and a 24th third for Mahomes and a 24th first. That's an interesting one. And a second in the same league.
Yeah.
The difference between Mahomes and Allen is not that big. In fact, there's no difference between them. Mahomes is ranked higher, I guess, pretty much by consensus. But I mean, for me, I'm like, it's a difference. Jeudy for a first isn't even, is it?
I think you probably lost out by a 24th third. So I don't whatever. I don't care. It's fine.
Yeah, that's kind of that's why I'm having hard. I think you lost the trade, but the difference is so small. I don't care.
Allen and Mahomes are the same. Jeudy and the first are the same. Mims and the second are pretty close to the same. And so you lost out by a 24th third, which I don't like. That doesn't even register for me. So it's a push. If you prefer Mahomes and having the fungibility of a first, awesome. Especially, he said rebuild. So fine, whatever. That's fine. Hey, Brian.
Hi guys. Been a bit since I caught. Hey, Brian. Since I caught you on live, hope you're well. Enjoy the beginning of the season. Thanks very much, Brian. You too. Thanks for stopping by.
I've been
Robert Holland. I already have Chase.
You are
Yeah, my
lagging
lag is
tonight,
bad
Peter.
tonight, huh?
Wicked. I was just gonna say I've been enjoying. Peter's gone.
I thought
Peter's
it might
back.
help. I thought it might help.
I was just gonna say I've been enjoying Brian. Brian has a podcast called Brian Talks to Humans, and I've been enjoying his podcast. But it's not fantasy football necessarily. But
Well, what is the subject?
he talks to people.
I like things.
Yeah. No, it's so like
And
nerd
no
aversion.
particular.
Yeah. No, it's
Nice.
Pete, this is
That's
hard
fun. I
to
added
talk
to
to
my
you
queue.
with your lag.
Sorry, I'm trying to shut things down, but I don't have anything open except this, so I don't know what to shut down. Yeah.
Robert Holland.
I'm gonna leave and come back. You hold it for a second.
Yeah. Robert says, I already have Chase, Wilson, Lamb, JSN, Jameson Williams, Tony at wide receiver. Should I trade 324 first for Justin Jefferson? So yeah, I would trade and acquire Jefferson, and then you can address trading other players in that wide receiver core to add to your roster. So if you have a 4 wide receiver core or a 5 wide receiver core of Justin Jefferson, Chase, Wilson, Lamb, JSN, all of the other players are expendable. Even Lamb is expendable, where you can then go acquire either picks back or acquire running backs, tight ends. You can really kind of move your team around. So I don't mind using the picks that way. I think 3 first for Jefferson is probably maybe even a little light. Like I know that like in reality 3 first is a ton, but like in practice of value, in the theoretical realm of value, 3 first may not even quite be enough for Jefferson. So like I don't mind going out and acquiring him for that, even with your wide receiver core, because that gives you a little bit more leeway to move around some of those wide receivers, make your team a little bit better. Hey, Pete.
I agree with what Zach just said. And it still seems to be running pretty slow, but we'll try and tough it out to 11 at least, guys. Sorry, the hamster that runs the urban internet must be getting real tired. Let me try and at least move the comments on for you. Alex, 12 team 1 QB IDP. I have Rodgers, Love, Bijan Robinson, Gibbs, Murray, Michael Carter, Christian Watson, George Pickens, JSN, Addison, Sutton. There's some things I like here and some things I hate, by the way. Sutton, Smith, Schoonman. I forget what his name is. Isaiah Likely. 424 firsts, 2 of them high. Should I sell Pickens and 224 firsts? Continued. God damn with these continuations. 24 second, 25 first, couple of draft picks, Chubb, Cup, an elite linebacker, in hopes to compete this year or stay the course and keep growing my squad. I think stay the course. Pickens wouldn't be who I'd sell first off your roster. Looking at the trade idea you have, though.
I mean, adding Chubb, Cup, and
no, I wouldn't say Pickens and first for that. No.
Yeah, I think you're probably it's a single quarterback, so you're fine at quarterback. You got Bijan as the hammer, Gibbs as a decent second. Your wide receivers need some work. They're young, and your tight ends are also not ideal. So yeah, I think you're right, Peter. I think you stay the course and continue to build with those firsts and grow your roster that way. Because I think even if you add Cup, Chubb, and a linebacker, you still are lacking a little bit of firepower in multiple positions.
Yeah, I'd rather see you improve the top of your wide receivers, right? If you're trying to compete, like go get Jefferson or Chase, Pickens plus 2 firsts for one or the other, or throw in Christian Watson, just throw a whole package at them. And then with one of those at your top of your depth chart, you've still got a dearth of picks. You're still competitive this season, and I think you're a better set. Otherwise, yeah, patience. I'm gonna try and talk less and just concentrate on clicking the comments for Zach to comment on here, because I think I'm still lagging a little bit. Andrew A. Hey, welcome back, Andrew. Dotson to the moon. His numbers were excellent last year. His routes were, at least. His targets, not so much, but his routes were good. With missed games. Got him for a first. Super excited. A late first, if you want to go all in on that kind of profile for a late first, I think it's all right. It's all right. Wouldn't be my target, but I'm rooting for it. Genji, I think I'm a lot higher on Brees and Hopkins than the average.
I
don't know how to answer that. I think we should be higher on Brees. Yeah. We should work to be higher than the average on Brees.
Yeah.
Zach Harris, what are your thoughts on the Patriots cutting Zappy? Did they cut Bailey Zappy? Crap.
Yes,
And
but
clearing the QB room other than Matt Jones.
But Zappy cleared waivers and is now back on the Patriots practice squad. So he's still on the team. He just had a bad. This is he's the puppy that peed in the corner and Belichick rubbed his nose in it, and now he's on the practice squad. He'll be back. He didn't have a very good camp. He was pretty good in the games, but he didn't have a very good camp. So I think it's okay. Now, what have you learned?
Could it be a media move? I know you said there's been a lot of conversations about Mac Jones and Bill Belichick, especially in the New England area and that media coverage. Do you think this could be clearing the air, saying, no, Mac's our guy. Let's make our player happy by saying, look, you're our guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it could be that. Yeah. And to be fair, if the freaking Colts could learn from that, like make your player a little bit happy. Even if you got to say no, maybe don't make them angry. So just do a little thing to make them, very clearly make them that they're invested in them. Gary Russell, so good to have you guys back on this week. Thanks very much, Gary. Sorry about last week. That was my fault. Give me your thoughts on the following players. Sam Howell, to the moon. No, I actually think he's one of the few QB values that has a lot of ceiling with where he's being drafted valued right now. I did just have to turn down a trade for him because my team's like just pure rebuild and I couldn't give up a first. But I love Sam Howell's value right now. James Cook, sell. They're my notes. Sky Moore, sell. I'm really high on all three. I hate to disagree with you on two of them, but yeah.
Yeah, and Peter, you and I are kind of in lockstep where I think James Cook is fine, but the idea that he's going to get a ton more volume in both the running game and the passing game is a little bit of fool's gold because Josh Allen is still the number one runner there, and his check down is run. Like that's his initial get out of trouble is not, oh, where's James Cook? It's I'm going to take off and get 5 yards because I can. And Sky Moore, what I'm doing with Sky Moore is every time Derek Brown tweets out, I will retweet him at my league mates and then trade Sky Moore to them because he's been like big time Sky. He did Sky with like 9 Ys tonight because somebody within the organization said that they're going to begin the year with Sky Moore in as a starter and hope that the two Rashee Rice and Justin Ross can work their way into starting roles. Justin Ross made the team, by the way, didn't get cut. He's a thing.
He's a thing, damn it. Yes. Rashid Rice and Justin Ross are far more interesting to me than Sky Moore. Yeah. I don't want to lag continuously this show, so we've talked about these players, especially Cook and Moore, a lot this offseason. Too long didn't read. There was nothing stopping James Cook doing it last year, and the team seemed to make more moves at receiver this offseason as if they weren't happy with their options. He wasn't that... He was a strong receiver in college, but he wasn't Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey like in college. And I think that was exaggerated. So I think they're still looking for their second best option. I don't think they need it, but they are looking for one. James Cook can have viability, startability, and value, but I think the rumors of his upside are strongly exaggerated. And I think 9 times out of 10, the player that's going to show us he has more upside does it in his rookie year, especially with that level of... They clearly wanted something. And they didn't really roll him out that way. And that was a too long didn't read version, by the way. And Sky Moore, 27% of rookies who have a season as disappointing, not just as good, not just looking at the receiving yards, missed games, and looking at his routes, but as disappointing relative to what we expected from him coming in. Miss. I mean, 27% is a low odds bet. There's normally better bets in his ADP range. I thought his profile was better than Zach did, but I was willing to believe that the tape... the numbers are exaggerated. Once hearing from a lot of tape grinders say it was mostly what we used to call compiling, rather than outright having the skills to acquire that much of the team's overall offense. And so while his rookie profile was decent, I was willing to be, because we've seen a history of that from that particular college team, of numbers being exaggerated. And so I moved him down. And so he's just at 27% of having a top 24 wide receiver season, and you can do better for his current value. That's too long didn't read version. But I'm here for it. I'd love both of them to prove me wrong, obviously. I'm rooting for you, Gary. Andrew, Dotson could play Tyreek Hill role. Whoa. In that offense, I'm not going to say that name. No more targets for Samuel, and Dotson can play outside. I think his targets are going to come up. I think his routes are underrated. I don't see Tyreek Hill in his range of outcomes. Now, you're just saying his role, though. So
Kadarius Toney played the Tyreek Hill role last year. Yeah, it was awesome. There is no Tyreek Hill role. There is a Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. I think the need to have your main receiver be listed as a wide receiver is strongly exaggerated in fantasy. They got the guy, it's Travis Kelce. And I think there's more than an open competition behind them, should they ever find room for or need for a different lead receiver. I think Justin Ross and Rashid Rice are equally competition for... Wait, we're talking about Dotson right now, not Sky Moore. Yeah, shut up.
We are.
But yeah, Terry McLaurin to the moon. Craig, who are you calling a coward? Oh, I sent a tweet where I called everyone a coward. Everyone but you, Craig, because you're here. So clearly I can't be talking to you. No, shit, you're checking it out. Just trying to talk to more people, man. Robert Harland, I put a comment with a better description of my team. Okay, we'll get there. Hopefully, if I don't crash. Jazz, welcome back. Hello, guys. Trades I made over the last week. 12-team Superflex start 10. Sent Najee and Ridley for Dotson and a 24 first. If you're building, I think it's solid. I've actually been trading for Najee to enter the season. He's one of those running backs I kind of like at his current value, but I think it's solid. Because you got that first. Again, that's the exact trade you suggested someone did earlier for Chubb. So pretty solid. This trade was rejected a few months ago, but I reoffered it and got it accepted. Oh, that's great news, man. It turns out people do change their minds over time. That's nice to know. Thanks, Jess. Genji took Dotson, Bateman over Burks in redraft because the LCL sprain knee injury Burks has. I do bad. Injuries are a concern. I can't predict them. I think it's fine. Bateman's got his own injury issues, to be honest with you. So I don't know that seems to be an even switch for his injury issues. What do you think, Zach? You're more in tune with how Burks is trending.
I think it's probably a push. I don't think you did bad by getting Dotson. Like, that's fine. And I think he and Burks are probably in line to be pretty similar in terms of fantasy production this year. Anyway, I see them both being kind of a number 2 on their team, seeing decent volume and fine. That's I don't hate it. I still probably take Burks over Dotson. Not even probably. I would take Burks over Dotson, but it's not like I'm not going to fight you over it, Genji. I don't think that's a bad move.
I'd be interested in taking Michael Thomas over the lot for a redraft, to be honest. I think that's a stronger bet this season. But
the LCL doesn't bother me as much. That's not necessarily structural. Not to be again, I'm not a doctor, but like that's the outside. That's more stability than it is structural. So that's not as big a deal. When I had torn my LCL way back, and when they reconstructed my knee when I tore my patella, they fixed my LCL. The guy was like, "I fixed your LCL. It looks like it had been a long time." And I was like, "Yeah." So, but
it's been a while. I've been meaning to get around to fixing that.
Yeah.
I take the first and Dotson. Good enough. I think it's a solid trade. Robert Holland, thanks, guys. I was a little hesitant because I feel like 2 of the 3 picks I have can be top 5. And I'd have a shot at Marvin Harrison or Kelvin, especially if you're into Devi. You probably have a lot better view of how valuable your picks are. But be hesitant on what picks are going to be what. But it's okay to make some guesses if you feel pretty strongly about it.
The cool thing, though, is
seems to like great move.
Justin Jefferson is actually Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, you get rid of that maybe part of the boat, just an actual boat. I thought it was too much to give anyway. Okay, well, again, it's your call, man. I'm wrong all the time, but I'm happy to bounce thoughts around, and as long as you're happy with it, no problem, Alex. Jazz Fresh. I'm rebuilding an orphan, so I was happy with Dotson and the first. Yeah, exactly. Yep. In that situation, you've given up a little. Yeah, exactly what we were talking about before. Now, for first, nice. The other team had Trevor Lawrence and needed another wide receiver and running back. I really think Ridley comes back and turns heads. And from the little I know of Devi, 24 is meant to be hot in terms of older, but really good quarterbacks. So especially, I can't remember if you said it was a super flex. It's a strong draft to try and target picks in for it. But again, consult a Devi guy, man. Travis May, for example, although he doesn't do so much content anymore. It's got to be Devi Kane. There you go. That's a good name.
Yeah, and Shane Hallam.
Adam, in a Charlotte 12 teams, Shane Hallam, yeah, absolutely. In a Charlotte 12 teams start 8 Empire League, 1 QB PPR, where the league ends after 2025, or with back-to-back championships, Empire League. Yeah, Jake played in a few. I've never done it myself. Who would you target in a JT trade? I have a Juggernaut, but with JT, you might just roster him and see what happens for the first 4 weeks. But if you're going to target someone, without seeing your team, 1 QB PPR.
Well, it's down next. My team is Hurts, Fields, JT, Ramondre, Herbert, Gainwell, Jalen Warren, Tank. I assume Bigsby. Yeah.
I think that's a chase, right?
But you're gonna have to put something with JT to get that type of player. Chubb might be a player that you target.
Yeah, you're giving up value for the hopefully more games of points this year.
But it's gonna. I mean, it doesn't matter. The league's gonna be over in 2025 anyway. So like your long-term JT value.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go. Let's score points.
Well, man, that's for another year. Yeah, I think Nick Chubb's probably the best target there for you, unless a CMC owner or Barkley are in a
Jacobs.
state.
I mean, Jacobs would be another one. Yeah. Would you try the Bajon Robinson owner? There's no way you're getting. I mean, you would have to add so
Actually,
much.
Harris owner.
Maybe, but I'd still rather have Chubb and Jacobs than Harris. But.
Okay. Another orphan, 12-team Superflex start 10. PPR tight end premium 1.5. Sent Russell Wilson, Conklin, Azoma, a 24 first for Waller, and a 24 third. Superflex, you sent Russell Wilson.
Yeah, it's you probably paid a little bit too much for Waller, but I like the idea of adding Waller.
Yeah.
But team is now locked in.
If you're locked in at the 101, man, that's the way to go.
And that's the other thing, Jazz, is you do something like this to lock yourself into a top pick. And so Caleb Williams actually factors into this trade because by making your team worse, you actually gain the higher pick, and so that factors into this.
That's a high altitude move right there. Nice. Hoping for a better market for Waller than Wilson mid-season.
That could be really like that's a really nice micro market play where I fully expect Waller to be a top 3 or 4 tight end this year and to have some really big explosive games in that offense in New York with Daniel Jones. I mean, Darren Waller may be the best pass catcher in that offense for the Giants. Unless it's Saquon.
Yeah. I've seen people rostering Darius Slayton as just take any shot on that depth shot. So yeah, Waller's probably a strong one. Andrew A. Rice has been terrible in preseason. Peter King did a piece saying Andy Reid is high on him. Turned wide receiver second year of college. Rookies under Reid at wide receiver hard. Jude is going to hit, especially at his ADP. I think he's talking about Sky Moore hitting rather than Rice, since he said Rice had a rough preseason.
Whatever.
It's a lot of context, but I really can't. I don't know how much to trust those patterns. Will Wolf, this is my league's first year using Fab.
Last year, Patrick Mahomes did not have a top 24 wide receiver. Patrick Mahomes did not have a top 24 wide receiver. He had Travis Kelce, and that, to me, is the long and short of what probably happens again this year. I don't expect Sky Moore to be what people think Sky Moore is. I just don't.
And I think he gets a bump for draft capital, and that's literally the team that you shouldn't lean too far into that, especially after a disappointing rookie season. Will Wolf, this is my league's first year using Fab, and Cedric Tillman got dropped. In a 12-team Superflex PPR, how much Fab would you bid on him? How much upside does he have if Coop and Donovan Peoples-Jones leave next year? Well, if you're already thinking a year out, you're already capping your upside, to be honest with you. I think Cedric Tillman's solid. He can play a role in the NFL that has some viability fantasy, but I'm not expecting regular top 24 volume. I want to bid early and high on players in season in general, even in Dynasty, but wide receiver isn't specifically where my head's at. I think you drop like a minimum bid or maybe plus a little bit just because you seem to like Cedric Tillman a lot. And whatever a third-round rookie pick would be worth to you, but I'm not going all in on a Cedric Tillman. But, I mean, it's waiver wire, so it's not like you can guarantee you're going to get better options, and I don't mind bidding up early. But depending on how much it is, what would...
10, 15%? Oh, see, I go higher than that, but whatever.
I'm so used to just putting $1 in. It's been an off-season of just putting dollar bids in. But yeah, 10%. Yeah, I'll stretch to it. He's a decent prospect, but again, cap ceiling. 1 QB, half-point PPR start 9. Giggs.
Jefferson.
And Nick Jigba. And Laporta or Justin Jefferson. Yeah, he jumped straight to it, but yeah, it's Jefferson. If you can trade for Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, you just pretty much do that. Or Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Clutch. First-year Dynasty players. How's my team? Okay. I'm glad to meet you, Clutch. Welcome in. We'll try our best to welcome you in as strongly as we can. His team is Goff, Cousins, Gibbons, Cook, Dalvin, or James?
Probably James.
James. Chase, Lamb, Smith, Hawkinson. All right. Superflex PPR. And your quarterbacks are fine. Don't get me wrong, but that's the first area that I really want to start to improve on. Just keep that in mind. Your wide receivers are really good. Chase and Lamb, Smith, and Hawkinson's the definition of fine. It's fine. It's fine. And so I would look to add value, move forward, and try to tear up my quarterbacks as the season went on, and look to snag more quarterbacks in my rookie drafts and so on and so forth. As for your first dynasty year, I don't think you got a bad team here to start off. So I think you set yourself up well to go move forward. Zach, any other thoughts here? Again, sorry about this, Clutch. I know it's your first year, and I want to talk to you endlessly, but I'm having a bit of an internet issue, so I'll let Zach take away from there.
No, I think you hit it. I think you're a little thin at running back, even though you've got some names that people like, and you're a little thin at your QB1. Like either of those players, Goff or Cousins, if they're your QB2, or if the rest of your team looks like it's really solid, I'm happy. But I think that it feels like you may have overdrafted Cousins and still ended up with a little bit of a weakness at running back. But it's not a bad team, and it's with a little tweaking, you should be able to be competitive and welcome to Dynasty, Clutch. This is fun.
Welcome in. Oh wait, I missed Jazz. Yes, Fresh is last trade. 12 team Superflex, start 9, 1 QB, PPR. Sent Khalil Herbert for Christian Watson.
Yeah,
I was busy over last weekend. Yeah, I'm surprised. That's not a trade that's meant to happen. And you've put me in a situation of saying, yeah, I guess Watson. I like Khalil Herbert as a depth. I really like him based on his value for depth running back, but Christian Watson is significantly different range of outcomes.
Yeah.
Good job. Genji, in Dynasty, I'm meh on Dotson. Same.
Yeah.
But seems like a bunch of that does. And maybe it's just back to back. I mean, it could just be a bubble thing where I talked about him with Ryan and then I get 4 questions on the grind. I'm like, everyone loves Dotson. But I'm suspicious now. I want to go check out his ADP on some different sites. I think there might be a Dotson bubble.
I always feel like people are higher on Dotson than I am.
Yeah. I felt like that to end the season, but then but his ADP was really low. I really liked him at the end of the season. I was like, people are underrating that volume. I talked about it. That happened to be the week I managed to get JJ Zacharyson on, and I was like, what volume are we meant to be chasing? Because Dotson's volume of routes is pretty good. And that was an interesting conversation. But if people are starting to value it, I want to.
Yeah. Yep.
Took him 8-11 in redraft, so it felt super fair considering where his ADP is at. Yeah,
that's not bad.
It's strong, but it's okay. Round 6.
If PFF is high on him, though, I'm out. No, I don't know.
Yeah, the PFF grades. He's just the counter move is always.
Yeah.
I don't believe in Christian Watson's talent, but thought it was. It's just a value thing at the point. And it's awkward when you find a good one like that for a player that I don't normally target, and I'm like, yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's just a good move. Jefferson, Wilson, Waddle, Lamb, Flowers, Christian Watt. That's a pretty healthy room. Alan Davis, welcome back. Traded Madison and Keontae Ingram to the James Conner owner for a 24 first. Solid. Yeah, look at that. You're taking advantage of the people are starting to look at their starting rosters window.
Yep.
Like, oh, who's my running back? Oh, okay, I better go get Madison. Good job. Nice, Alan. Yes, that team I traded Russell Wilson for Waller. I needed to strengthen the other team. No, that's a high level. Like I said, high altitude mood there. Big brain.
4D chess. I like it.
It's smarter than the moves I make. That makes me dizzy. It's so high. But I honestly, once explained, I think that's awesome. Andrew Carlson, AJ Brown or Kyle Pitts in a 2-point tight end premium. AJ Brown. Gut reaction. AJ Brown.
Yep.
12-team Superflex, start 10, PPR 1.75, sorry, tight end premium. So pretty strong. Give Bijan Robinson, no.
Yeah.
Get CeeDee Lamb, James Cook, no. And Khalil Herbert, no.
It's
I think going from running back to a really good tier 2, but that's a really high tier wide receiver is a solid dynasty move. No, I think Bijan Robinson's in the tier above, and I think he's going to solidify that, should we say, this season. And James Cook means nothing to me. Khalil Herbert's interesting, but no, just Bijan Robinson, please.
The wild thing to me about Bijan is he's the running back 1 in Dynasty right now, and his value can go up.
And that, I remember Ray GQ was saying that a few months ago on Twitter. It's like, he's already running back 1. Where can it go up? It's easy. A few teams in your league see that and think this is a little crazy, and then 6 weeks in, they're like, oh no, that's completely justified, and there's your value increase right there. It's because when there's no more holdouts, he'll be
the entire running back position can go up, and also the fact that he is the crown jewel of the running back position.
I mean, it's a gap. Look, it's not certain. He can definitely flame out. I like Rashad Penny at one point, but at some point you have to say what you think and make a bet on it. I don't see Bijan Robinson failing, but if so, I'll just suck it up and do it again. Jaws. Kyler Murray worth a damn for this year? That's an interesting question. I got that question recently. How many games? I'm starting to get more pessimistic on his startability. I really thought he might come back earlier and really kick off a playoff team. At this point, he's just a value bet. I'm not expecting to play him this season. No.
And
I think that'd be kind of crazy, given how long his timetable looks at this point. Like, why do you want to bring him in to, 1, risk further injury, and 2, make a draft pick a little bit worse? Like, they might play him just to get some of the rust off, but
they have definitely taken a left-hand turn. So we drafted Scott Fishbowl at the beginning of July, and I took Kyler Murray and I took Colt McCoy, thinking, well, this will be fine. I'll have the the backup, and then Murray will come back. And now it looks like I don't have a quarterback for my Scott Fishbowl team, which is not a great position to be in. But
no, I took Kyler Murray after taking 2 others, thinking that he would be a bump for my QB2 down the stretch, and now I'm thinking that's probably an early cut the way it's looking. But in Dynasty, I've still got him on rosters, reaching where I'm rostering him as a potential upgrade into that top 5 for a little less value.
Yeah.
But I'm not expecting much this season. But the season's always going to surprise me. But that's where my head's at.
Yeah, I'm with you, Genji. I don't think he's playing this year. And I did think that he would play, 2 months ago. I thought he was going to play. But
I also think, and maybe I'm crazy, that for the first time, I suspect he might move teams rather than play for Arizona again, because they're trying out Cunningham. They're trying out someone else. If they've got guts, they will not roll out Colt McCoy too much, and they'll see what they got.
No, they cut Colt McCoy. They cut him.
Oh, they cut. Oh, well, they're definitely going to try to see what they've got, and that strongly seems like a team who's testing to see what they could do. Again, I'm not worried about Kyler Murray, the talent. So I'm still. That was my flaw. Unfortunately, we have hit the floor. He's at max risk at this point. Well, not max risk, but he's higher risk at this point, which is unfortunate. But I'm still pretty confident in the talent. So I'm just going to write it out at this point.
Yeah. Oh, in Dynasty, bought him in Dynasty, he's a buy because his
if anything,
he'll play again, and he's a top 8 quarterback. He's good.
Means if I'd waited, if I'd listened to Zach and always wait a little bit, I probably would have found a better window for the places that I have bought him. But it also means those places where I couldn't, I now can try and send some more offers. Like, he's one of the strongest, I think, value plays we could have made this offseason. And again, so far I'm wrong because he's gone down even further. But, I've been wrong again. I'm unafraid of being wrong. I have to be if I want to play Dynasty. Rabbo, CD.
I was just reading this one. This one is the CeeDee Lamb JSN in the first. I'd rather have that than Bijan.
Yeah, JSN's a different kind of proposition than James.
I mean, that's pretty close to 5 first. That's pretty close to 5 first for Bijan.
Yeah, that's a needle mover. Okay. Yeah, I'd agree the package there. Genji, stop giving away our answers. We don't get to the questions as quick as you sometimes, okay? Nick, if now is the best time to buy low, what would Kyler be worth in a 1 QB league? Almost nothing.
Yeah.
I think he could be sneaky to get into that worth something in a 1 QB league, but you don't want to give him more than a second for it because that's basically a rookie shot.
Yep.
That's where we're at.
Yeah.
If it's a super flex, you can be a little stronger on it, but it's a second round pick.
Or Nick, do a second and like a player that people think is not a roster clogger but is, and do something like that. So like again, I hate to denigrate Christian Watson, but like I would do something like a second and Christian Watson and go get Kyler, even though in a one quarterback that feels like it's a little high. It's really fine. And next year Kyler is back and you're feeling good about it. I wouldn't give up a first, Genji, even though in a one quarterback league, even though it's a 25 first, I would not give up a first round pick to get a quarterback in a one quarterback league. I just wouldn't.
Technically, that's the same value, but first you do give yourself 2 years to get it back. Yeah. But I'd rather not if I don't have to for a quarterback in a 1 QB league. Like if they're willing to get out for a second, sure. Yeah. But I'm keeping my first for that. I think. Again, that's where he's decreased. I might have been a little more hype on that idea earlier, but there you go.
All right, Pete. I am at the end of my evening. I don't know if you're continuing on, but I have to go to bed.
I too am tired.
I am looking over there.
Appreciate you all.